Hey, it's Christian with St. Augustine TV. Steps away from the oldest streets in America lies one of the most overlooked military cemeteries in the country. And beneath these stones is a story of one of Florida's deadliest and important battles, a battle that changed the course of Florida history. In honor of Memorial Day, this is the story of Major Francis Dade. St. Augustine National Cemetery is older than the Civil War, older than the National Cemetery system itself. The first burials here happened in 1828, when Florida was still a rough military frontier. Soldiers stationed at nearby St. Francis Barracks were buried here after dying from disease, harsh conditions, and war. In the 1830s, the United States government was trying to remove Seminole people from Florida. Tensions exploded into what became the Second Seminole War, the longest and costliest Indian wars in American history. These coquina monuments reflect the heart of that story. On December 23, 1835, Major Francis Langhorne Dade left Fort Brooke near present-day Tampa with around 110 U.S. soldiers. Their mission seemed straightforward: march north through the Florida wilderness to reinforce another fort near Ocala called Fort King. Unbeknownst to them, the Seminoles were watching. Micanopy and Seminole warriors shadowed Dade's column for days, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Dade believed they were safe. According to historical accounts, his men relaxed their guard. Then, on December 28th, everything changed. A shot rang out from the trees. Major Dade fell almost instantly. Within moments, Seminole warriors opened fire from concealed positions surrounding the column. The U.S. soldiers desperately tried to form defensive positions, but they were trapped in open ground against enemies who knew the terrain. It was a massacre. By the end of the battle, nearly the entire command had been wiped out. Only a handful survived long enough to escape. The defeat shocked the United States, and it ignited the full fury of the Second Seminole War. Months later, when the fighting temporarily eased, soldiers recovered the bodies and brought many of them here to St. Augustine. In 1842, these coquina pyramids were built over mass graves containing the remains of soldiers killed during the Seminole Wars. Major Dade and many of his men are believed to rest beneath these monuments. More than 1,400 soldiers from the Florida Indian Wars are memorialized here. The story, and indeed the monument, became so famous that Miami-Dade County was eventually named after Major Dade. For many, Memorial Day is synonymous with the beginning of summer. But places like this remind us that Memorial Day began as something far more solemn. Before backyard cookouts and discount sales, Americans gathered in cemeteries like this one to honor soldiers who never came home. Some died in well-known wars overseas. Others, like Major Dade and his men, died here in Florida, in swamps, forests, and frontier battles that most Americans today barely have ever heard of. And whether you see them as heroes or villains, victims of history, or simply young men caught in the machinery of war, their story is foundational to the state of Florida. This cemetery honors the bravery and those who paid the ultimate price, so others may flourish. Nearly 2 centuries later, the names have faded, and the battlefields have disappeared beneath highways, housing developments, and strip malls. But every Memorial Day, places like St. Augustine National Cemetery remind us of the people who gave up their lives in the service to others. And that's what Memorial Day is really for: remembrance. So the next time you pass this small cemetery by the bayfront, honor the fact that more than any place else, it memorializes one of the most important and difficult battles in Florida history. Hey, thanks for watching. For more local history and content, don't forget to like and subscribe.